recording. Okay. Virgil Reyes, thank you very much for talking to me. My name's Chris McMillan. This is Autonomy Season 1, High Ticket Closer. Virgil Reyes, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you, Chris?
I'm fantastic. So,
Good.
you are a high ticket closer. Could you talk to us about how did you get into doing that? How does one become a high ticket closer?
Well, there's actually a lot of different reasons why people become, or I guess I should say why they join the program. I can tell you personally, for me, it was really about just making a little bit of side money because I own my own business driving a concrete mixer truck. And actually, I made a YouTube about it if anybody's interested in my story. And it's on the channel, Virgil Reyes. It's just something that I made so that people can kind of look up what my experience was with the high ticket closer program. But I own my own business, and driving a concrete mixer truck, we don't really do this type of work during the winter time. So when I saw a video of Dan Locke's in, I think it was the middle of December, he talked about how you could, make some money anytime, anywhere. And I personally had some experience in sales. So I thought, for sure, this is something that I could do at least during the winter times when I'm, not working, just to make a little bit of extra money, extra income. And so it turned out when I joined the program, or when I booked the call, the way that they presented themselves was like, I'm the expert. I may have the solution to your problem. We're going to find out through this call. I thought that was really cool because it wasn't like a typical, sales call per se. And I've done a lot of sales. So it was very pleasant. And so going into the program, I anticipated just, this is going to be something that's going to help me make a couple of extra $1,000 during the winter time. And it turned into way much more than that. I mean, it turned into like a personal development type situation where you learn about yourself, you learn about others, you learn how to communicate effectively and in a very finesseful way where it's not just like a connection, like just say, hi, how are you doing? But it's more like knowing them on a deeper level, like understanding why their personality is the way that they are today. And there's always a root cause. So I entered in with the expectation of just making a few $1,000s, and I left the program thinking, this is a lifestyle, and this is a mindset that anybody could apply in any aspect of life, whether it's their relationships, whether it's their jobs, their bosses, their coworkers, anybody. And it just helps you to understand people in general. So, I left more of the understanding that this is something that I want to do full time because it's a way of helping out people and understanding them also. And it's kind of like a hidden talent that I didn't know that I had that, during the HCC program, it really surfaced it. I realized that one of the things that I like to do is to help out people. So, after the course, I realized that this was something that I wanted to do because, concrete mixing truck doesn't really involve people.
Yeah.
And I kind of saw that was like a missing link out of my life, like that, what do you call it? That fulfillment aspect of it.
Yeah.
And so when I started to do high ticket closing, I realized this is more of like a passion. I thought I had already liked my job the way it was, but I realized, no, this isn't what I would like to do. It's really high ticket closing because you really truly do help out people, in any aspect of life. I mean, even my marriage, I've been married with my wife for 10 years now. And, there's subtle changes that she sees. She's like, whoa, we are connected on a different level now. We've been married for 10 years and this is like new to her. So it's definitely helped out in a lot of different aspects.
That's great. That kind of leads to my next question. Why would you say sales skills are important for everyone, even if they're not involved in sales? How would you describe that?
Sales skills are very essential. It's kind of like it goes back to the saying, catch a man or catch a fish, feed a man for a day, teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime.
For life.
And sales is a type of skill that you have because it allows you to help communicate with people, of course, and understand what's the core reason for why they want whatever product or service or whatever it is that they're looking at. So when you are able to pinpoint the core, You kind of surface it and say, look, is this a reason why? Do you think that this, service or product is going to be the solution to your problem or the core purpose of you looking into it? It gives them, it's like a shortcut through all the, trying to, I guess, manipulate and do things like that. So the aspects of sales is more of like communicating and understanding the person on a philosophical level rather than psychological level rather than just trying to figure out, how to understand that person and what their needs are for that product or service. But I mean, if you think about it, what was that? I'm sorry.
You said psychological, but you were right. Philosophical also goes into that category.
Also, yeah.
Every
very true, very true. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say that one thing that about sales is like, for example, and this is something that was pointed out during the program, is that if you have a wife, if you have a partner, or you have children, part of it is closing. Being able to sell yourself to that person that you are the right solution for their problem per se. You know what I mean? They're looking for a partner to spend the rest of their lives with. So when they're interviewing you per se, you know what I mean, you're actually selling yourself. Same thing with job interviews. When you're at a job interview, they want to find out what it is about you that's going to be different from everybody else. The high ticket closer program, of course, kind of gives you like another level that's much higher to get into the understanding of the interviewer. And that's where they came up with the question, like, out of all the applications that you looked at, why did you pick me to interview? And so it puts it back on them, like, oh, that's a good question. So this was what stood out about you, and now they're justifying why they wanted you to enter into their office and then why they wanted to talk to you.
Very interesting. Was Dan Locke's course your first introduction into all this?
Into sales in general, no. I actually I don't know if I could say that I was born for it. I had definitely a good interest in it. When I first started selling, it was actually door to door as a little kid. I used to I learned how to fold up paper into like ninja stars, and I learned how to fold napkins into flowers.
That's great.
And I used to go door to door. I was like 5 years old, going door to door and selling them for 50 cents. And I had already started my entrepreneurship. But the funny thing is that I didn't use the money that I got to buy more materials. I would ask my parents, hey, I need more materials. And so I got like a free supply, and I would use that to sell to them. But that's kind of like how I grew up, like just doing things here and there that I knew interested me, and the connection with people, meeting new people. I was never shy when it came to that. So, I've done like Kirby's door to door. I did some telemarketing when I was 16. And, I got really good at those, but then I realized, do I want to be doing this forever? Probably not.
Yeah.
Because you're trading a lot of time for money. So then I did some mobile home sales here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And that paid really well. But I think what I know today would have made it a lot more pleasant for me to make the money that I used to make. I definitely would have made more money for sure.
How did you come to find out about Richard Grove's Autonomy course? What brought you to Autonomy?
That's interesting, because while I'm trying to learn HTC and doing everything I can, working hard to kind of implement it and make it my own, I walk into a room and I see Richard Grove there, and I'm listening to him as he was actually one of the students in the course for season 8. And when I heard him, I was like, wow, this guy sounds like he's like a television or a radio personality, not even knowing Richard Grove at the moment. And it was very interesting. I was like, dude, that's not really like what we're learning here. Of course, we were just barely starting the program. I'm like, that's not really what Dan Locke is teaching us here in this program, but you sound freaking phenomenal, man. I was like, I would not change anything about the way that you talk. I was like, the way that you deliver, the questions and everything that you're doing is freaking amazing. I was like, I would not change anything about it. So that's how we first met. And then, I talked to him here and there throughout the course. Really good guy. Has a very strong frame. I like that about him.
Yeah.
And he cares about people. That's one thing I learned about him too. But it was funny because one time I was bragging about how good I was getting, and he called me out, and he's like, "Okay, let's do a role play." And he definitely put me through the fire. And when he did, what he did actually was, it was like a self reflection, like, this is what you need to work on, Virgil. And I was like, man, I really appreciate that. And he was actually role playing Autonomy. And I was like, man, that sounds freaking awesome. That's something I would definitely stand behind. And later on, I think it was like 3 days later, I told him, okay, I'm ready for you, Richard. I've been practicing and I want to role play with you again. And, it impressed him, because I definitely put in the work to improve where I was weak at. And then he told me, when we role played that, the autonomy course is actually a real thing. I was like, really? And he goes, yeah. And if you're interested, I'd be more than happy to, get you through the process to get started. And I said, yeah, I would love to. And so when I joined, I thought it was very interesting. I mean, it's very fascinating the way that the community is, and how everybody's sharing, their own stories, how they're able to implement that through life, and how they're sharing it with others. It's like, again, going back to teach a man how to fish and they can fish for a lifetime. We're teaching each other several different skills that help out each other, which is great. I love it.
So what are your observations about autonomy so far? How has it been for
It's
you?
great. It's been great. And like I was telling you earlier, Chris, I really wish I could have been there a lot more. I'm trying to get to the point where I can, but I'm very focused right now on high ticket closing. As I told you before, I'm trying to do it full time. But right now, from what I've seen and the interviews that I've heard, and the podcast and everything that Richard has put on, has really opened up my eyes. And it's something that I wish that I can do a lot more of now. But I just have all my time focused on so many things right now, just trying to get to a place where I'm doing this full time and I don't have to worry about, uh, investing so much time here in the future. I have to go to Colorado, like I was telling you about my business, to interview a couple of drivers to get them to start driving my truck so I can go full time and just stay at home with my family. And the moment I'm able to get settled in, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be able to, go to the Red Pill
Yeah.
convention. That's interesting. I can't wait to do that.
Was it?
And
Yeah,
hopefully, say that again.
I think the June the 6th. Yeah, first week of June.
June 6th, 7th, yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think it was the 7th to 9th. I can't remember. But yeah, definitely, I'm making an effort to get there. And once I get that driver hired and I'm full time closing, then I don't have to worry about anything else, as far as like the stream of income will be in, and I'll be able to do it there while I'm at the conference, which is great.
Yeah, it'd be great to see you there. That's the beauty of the autonomy course as well. It's impossible to fall behind because all the recordings, all the material are there forever. You've got access to it. And the students, we're still hanging out, I mean, we're making connections, and the Discord will always be there. We'll probably be helping out season 2
Yeah.
students coming up in the near future. So it doesn't really end. So it's kind of hard. You can't really fall behind, really, because it's completely up to us. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, and I understood that entering it. So yeah, it's wonderful, man. I can't wait to be able to focus some more time into autonomy. It's going to be amazing for me.
So any thoughts on the future then? So you're just gonna focus on getting the truck business to a point where you have more independence. Any other projects you haven't mentioned you've got going on?
Well, part of high ticket closing is finding influencers that you work for. That's people like Richard Grove himself. He would be considered an influencer that actually sells packages, kind of like the autonomy package. It could be coaching, products, services, whatever. And I have a lot of people in the works because of my reputation, the way that I've been growing it. It's been drawing a lot of attention to me, so I'm getting a lot of opportunities come up. And so that's what I've been focusing all my time at, is to kind of, and it's like anything else, whenever you invest your time into something, at first it's a lot of time that you put into it, and it's not a lot of return. But eventually, once you start gaining a reputation, just like Richard has, and other people, that are on YouTube and whatnot,
Yeah.
such as yourself too, then they eventually, people start coming to you. And that's at the point that I'm going to. And that's why I put in so much work into it now, is to kind of speed up that process where everybody turns and they're like, who's this Virgil guy? You know, so now everybody's kind of coming towards me, and it's kind of nice. You know, it's very uh, it's very I guess you could say I feel I have a comfort in it that I don't have to go out there and start hustling for money. It's going to be more like people are saying, hey, can you do this for me? Can you work in sales with me, and can you help me out with my high ticket packages? And you know, that's something that I have a passion for, like I said. So I'm looking forward to it.
That's great. Virgil, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. Is there anything else you want to add before I end the meeting?
If there was anything that I had to add to anybody out there, is that if you're kind of on the walls about autonomy, book a call. I mean, just find out what you need to do. You know, there's people on the other end that are that have gone through the course, and they're willing to help you out. And you know, we're all just here. We're a community of people, like-minded people, so we all want to help out each other. So anything we can do to help you out, let us know. That's a great thing about autonomy, like Chris brought up. I mean, it's there forever. So you drop in there and you have some concerns. You need somebody to help. You know, you need help with any kind of situation. They're there to reach out to, and we're more than happy to. You know, we'll reach back and say, hey, what can we do to help you? I meant whatever it takes.
That's great.
That's great.
Yeah, it is. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Virgil.
Yeah, no problem, Chris. I really appreciate the interview. Thanks a lot.
No problem. I'm gonna